Welcome to the Golden Com podcast. Today's special guest, Andrew Hartman.
Hey, Jason.
Andrew Hartman, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jason. Thanks so much for having me. Grateful to be here.
Are you kidding? Glad we made time to be here.
That's right.
That's so dumb.
We prioritized it. We prioritized it.
Yeah.
No, I love it.
So, Andrew, I have so much interest in learning what you have to say today.
Great.
We've had a warm-up on the phone, and we know a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
And you have this magnificent project that you have embarked on called TimeBoss.
That's right.
And that is the meat and potatoes of the podcast. But it's always interesting in how we get to the meat and potatoes. So I'd love to get your formative years.
Sure.
Where you grew up.
Yeah.
How you got to where you're going. If you wouldn't mind starting, where did you grow up?
Yeah. I grew up on Whidbey Island, Washington. So
Say that slowly.
Whidbey Island, Washington.
Would be what? Would-be?
Whidbey.
Whidbey.
Yeah.
Should I know what that is?
Some people will, yeah.
I never heard.
It's in the San Juan Islands up in the Pacific Northwest in Washington, so yeah.
Nobody knows where that is.
No, they do. I mean, you'd be surprised.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people have actually vacationed there, yeah. Yeah, you should check it out. I honestly think they don't market to keep people away, but it's amazing.
We're going to have to do a second podcast. Okay, so I can't get into that. I don't have time, but I want to have time for that.
It's an amazing
That must
place.
have been really remote and boats.
So there's a Navy base there. So my parents were farm kids from Kansas. My dad was in dental school. The Navy paid for dental school, planted some farm kids on an island in Washington, and the rest is history.
Okay, so, that's rad.
Yeah.
Next podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
Then what?
Very fun. So grew up there, had a great childhood. Military community is a great place to grow up. Very patriotic, very connected, and had wonderful parents that taught me that the work is the reward, and you can't get paid enough to do a job you hate. So that was really instilled in me. So I had a very open heart coming into my formative years of, okay, what do I want to do that I believe in, that I can connect to, that I want to do good work in? And that led me went to Biola, thought I was going to be a high school history teacher of all things. I am not a high school history teacher. And realized pretty quick I was not interested in education, but I loved development. I loved coaching. I loved leadership development. Pivoted into that after school, did that for about 6 years at the collegiate level. Realized very quickly that education moved at a glacial pace, and I just couldn't handle that level of innovation. I just wanted to change faster, and they were on yearly cycles, and I wanted to be on weekly cycles, which made my next move great. I moved into a place called Caliber Media Group, a local agency here in Orange County. I know you're familiar with Caliber. And it was...
Slow down for me.
Yeah.
So you went from a slow-paced teaching something that never changes.
Yeah.
Like last I checked, history... Why is history so hard to remember if it never moves?
That's a good question.
It's so hard.
It's a good question. Yeah.
But you went from this is fascinating. You went from teaching something at a slow pace, which you just said, you wanted to do a quicker pace.
Yeah.
Teaching something that never moves.
Right.
History.
Right.
And you went from there, and I know Caliber. You went from there to Caliber. So Caliber is fast-paced.
Absolutely.
Always moves.
Always moves.
Okay, so this is a real shock for you.
Oh, it was a shock to the system. Yeah. So I mean, when I was in education, I'd be watching the clock at 4:45, just waiting for 5 o'clock to roll around. And when I came to Caliber, I was utterly overwhelmed by all the needs. I mean, it's so far exceeded my capacity as to lead and to manage and to make things happen that, it'd be 7 o'clock and I'd be calling my wife and apologizing, so sorry I wasn't home yet. And that was just my life, and that's, we'll get into it as we get into the TimeBoss story, but that was the beginning of, I'm not equipped to handle more things to do than I have time to do it. That was very clear. So did that for 7 years. Caliber was a custom marketing technology shop. We were building all kinds of things from startups all the way up to Fortune 500 type of technology. Realized I really wanted to be on the client side. I wanted to experience the client side. I had so many clients, 12 clients at a time at Caliber, and I joked that they were all like girlfriends that had needs of me, and they didn't care about each other's needs, right? They just wanted their need met, and some of them were friends of our CEO Terry, and it was like dating the boss's daughter. It was terrible. So moved to the client side, and then I spent my next years in early stage product. So we were doing Sevenly, which is a local Orange County company. They're kind of a social media darling. We did...
Say that one again.
Sevenly.
Sevenly?
We did flash sales in e-commerce.
Oh, I see.
Supporting charity. So it was a deep heart connection for me. Again, that idea, the work is the reward my parents gave me. But it was an early stage company. So I had gone from a agency, which had high demands on my time, to early stage startups, which a complete another gear in
Doing
terms
flash sales, which is hard to do.
every single week.
Yeah, hard, very, very intense.
Yeah, I mean, as I
Maybe not now, but it was then.
it was like
so
launching
hard.
a website every week.
What platform did you guys use?
It was a custom node
Yeah,
platform. I mean, it was.
I hear you.
Yeah,
Awful.
it was painful.
Awful. Okay, keep going.
Very painful.
Yeah.
So
I feel your pain, by the way.
Yeah.
Did all that.
yeah, and
Yeah,
in all these places, I wanted to do well. I wanted to contribute. I
course.
cared deeply. I cared about my clients at Caliber. I cared deeply about these charities we were supporting. And time was my enemy. I was constantly fighting. There was never enough. I would have told you, the mantra of my life would be, there's not enough time. There's so much more that I want to do than I have time to do it. So battled my way through that startup, moved on to another startup called Cotribute, again, in Orange County. Cotribute was about changing employee generosity. And again, same idea. We were starting it from the ground up. So built out a tech team, led a product team, led operations, ultimately became the COO there.
Also something that drives you.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're lined up there.
Generosity. Yeah.
You're not misaligned.
No.
You just run out of time.
Exactly.
Okay.
I
Keep going.
cared deeply at every stage of what I was contributing. I believed in it deeply. I wasn't looking to check out. I wanted to lean in. I just wanted to figure out how to do this without constantly overwhelming myself and burning out and sidelining myself from stress and anxiety of trying to make these things happen in early stage environments. So had a good run at Cotribute. We pivoted a number of times, got it to a successful place, and then was at another local company, Download Youth Ministry, who Golden Com formerly worked with. They speak very highly of you. And was their COO for 2 years. We launched a number of software products. And I should mention, as we get into TimeBoss, about halfway through Cotribute, I really turned a corner. I had one last just total flame out. And it was a boundary in the sand for me of never again. I'm never doing this again. I must contribute at a level that I believe in. I want to deliver on the goals that I'm after, but I cannot overwhelm myself again. I cannot end up burnt out again. And so it was kind of the final piece of developing a set of habits for myself to go as fast as I possibly could without stress, fear, and anxiety being the fuel, but really a sense of peace and connectedness and belief in the work that was right-sized to my actual capacity and not burning myself out.
All right. Andrew, you've teed this up perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
And why this next part is the part we want to focus on, which
Sure.
is this TimeBoss
Right.
system, habits, SaaS platform that you've built.
Right.
There are a few things I want to make sure, because I want you to do most of the talking.
Sure.
But there's a few things I'm going to probe you on. One is, this is kind of a new way of working,
Absolutely.
because you have multiple fingers in multiple things now.
Correct.
You've taken something you're passionate about, and you are blessing people with it, but you own it.
Correct.
And you are still in the workplace.
Correct.
But you also have this passion going on the corner.
Right.
And you feel like you got a lot of energy right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
I'm all in too. I'm ready to go. All right. So, how did you get the idea
Right.
to start? Well, what is TimeBoss?
Yeah, so TimeBoss is a coaching platform. We coach individuals, groups, and teams through a very simple set of habits related to time. The challenge with time is that it's hard to change our habits. So most people actually know what they need to do related to time management. They've either heard it, they've seen it on LinkedIn, whatever. They just cannot put it together to get over the hump to both make the contribution they want to have happen without stress and anxiety being the thing that's just driving them to achieve what they're trying to achieve. So I help people over the course of a 6-week coaching program to develop that set of habits to operate again at a really, really high capacity without overwhelm, stress, and anxiety being the fuel that's driving that activity. So that's what I do with TimeBoss.
So your course is a 6-week course.
Correct.
Like that's the entry level.
Correct. That's how you get started.
And
Yep.
and you do it as an individual or a group?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So a fundamental belief for me. So this was crafted in startup land for me. I was building out a set of habits, not for anybody else. I mean, truly, I didn't set out to do this. I was setting out to survive as an individual in this really high stakes environment. And what had to be true is it had to work for me. I couldn't have it only work if everybody was doing it. And oftentimes, especially in team environments, corporate environments, you'll have these kind of intense top-down structures of We all have to run it this way or it's not going to work. And if anyone doesn't hold up their end of the bargain, it's not going to work. And I just fundamentally don't think it's practical. So for me, it was about first training myself as an individual, and then the progression. You had asked how it developed. I started going really fast, and I was burning not a lot of calories, and there was not. People could just see it in me. Like it's like the stress and anxiety melted away, and we just were focused and intense, and we were delivering. And people started asking, "Hey, what are you doing? What is this? Can you show me how to do this?" And I realized that, one, I could show people how to do it, so it wasn't just a system that worked for me, it worked for anybody. My team started running with these habits, and it was working really well for them.
When you said my team, where are you?
Contribute.
You're
yeah.
Contribute.
Yeah, I was at Contribute. Okay. And then ultimately DYM, Download Youth Ministry.
And you used this practice when you went to DYM.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool.
And now Bright City, where I'm a halftime COO, our leadership team is running on these same habits.
You're running on the same habits.
Because I just believe in it deeply. It's just it is the way to find your highest sustainable pace. We can run at this pace forever, and we will get the most output as a team running at this pace. And if we press beyond, we're going to burn people. We're going to lose people. We're going to pay the cost of attrition, of finding new good people. We're going to violate our values because none of us, we don't want to burn people out. We all want the outcomes. We all want to contribute, but we don't want to burn people out in the process. So it's only rational to install habits and systems that allow us to go as fast as we can without stress, fear, and anxiety being this grinding thing that ultimately takes people out of the game. That's really my belief.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
So you said it doesn't work one size fit all, top down, this is how we do things or else. But this system sounds like it's that, but it sounds like it's that just on behaviors and habits, and there's a lot of flexibility in these behaviors and habits.
100%.
Is that really what it is?
Yeah,
because it is a system that everyone really does buy into.
Everyone buys into, but people buy into for very practical reasons because it allows them to get what they want.
Right, and everyone has their own way of interpreting.
Correct.
But you have a common language on how you're running.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So it's a 6-week process. First 2 weeks is really undoing whatever their habits are related to time and helping them get real clear about where they currently are related to time. The next 2 weeks is about installing new habits, literally daily reps and installing new habits. It's Atomic Habits Based by James Clear. It's helping people make those 1-degree course corrections day over day, every day. And then the last 2 weeks is about how do we maximize it for the individual. So what are the unique tweaks that each individual needs to make to really make it their own? Where there's 2 things that we're achieving. They're getting the outcomes they want. They're contributing at the level that they want, but they're doing it without stress, fear, and anxiety being the fuel. Those are the 2 gaps I'm trying to solve. I want to help people get the contribution they want to make because some people can't get out of their own way to do it, and they need a system to make that happen. And I want people to be able to realize that they can do it without stress, fear, and anxiety being the fuel. And we've just accepted that as the tax of the work we're going to get. I'm gonna wait till something catches on fire, or I'm gonna stress myself out somehow, and that's gonna be what drives me to take the action because I don't want to miss my mortgage payment, or I don't want to disappoint my spouse, or I don't want to get fired, or you name it. Like we just line up these sources of stress that drive activity for us, and I'm simply saying it's not required. We can get the life we want without those things being required.
No, that's great. You know what else is great? 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome.
It took me 15 years, 700 iterations of my own world, like week after week after week. Okay, we're doing it different. I mean, it was like a startup. We're going to do it different. We're going to do it different. And once I got it, I realized people can get this really rapidly. You just have to get in an intense environment where you're willing to change. You have to know it needs to be different. And it's those daily reps that drive behavior change.
If I tell myself I want to change, I feel like a hamster.
Right.
I have many options to change. You're not the only one in town.
Of course, yeah, of course not.
You're a good one.
Thanks.
You're a 6-week one.
Right.
If I go into the right mindset, I could go on to TimeBoss, sign up for a 6-week course.
Correct.
And in 6 weeks, my life could look different.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with that?
Truly. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I believe. I mean, we look at the numbers, we look at the outcomes, we have 93%. It reduces their stress and anxiety. Yeah. Nobody loses productivity. So the number thing, people look at it and they're like, well, you're just going to tell people to work less. Not at all. I'm telling people to decide the amount they want to work. And
work differently.
Work differently. Yes, to use your term. Absolutely. Yeah. And 83% are actually getting greater outcomes. So we reduce stress and we increase outcomes. Why? I mean, truly, why wouldn't you do it?
Well, just to put some things in context. So I've read many habit books.
I'm sure you
So I love habits. I mean, it's all about habits and systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So James Clear, you mentioned him. Sometimes I get confused. Is he the one that says you can't break habits, you can only replace habits? Is that him? Like, you need habits. You're not allowed to not have habits. You just want to take...
I don't know if he has those rules, but he would say that our brain desperately wants to run on habits. It's
Right.
trying to offload processes.
Because we're going to have habits.
We're going to have it.
We might as well replace the bad habits with the good habits.
Correct.
Right? And then he's got the cueing. Is that part of your
Yeah.
program, the cueing?
Yeah, he talks about the key language that he talks about that really impacts the way I think about time is that we don't rise to the level of our goals.
Yeah.
We fall to the level of our systems.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to instill with habits is, if I know I need to accomplish something, I have a set of habits to drop that thing into, and I know exactly how to make it happen.
Yeah.
When my world gets overwhelmed, when there's more things coming at me than too many parts to count, right? That's when people get overwhelmed, when they can't see their way through something. I want a set of habits that knows how to make sense of all those things and helps people take marked progress forward. So that's really where the idea of James Clear gets involved, of how do we fall to the level of our systems, not white knuckle our way through challenges.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, a couple points I want to hit before we get off the air here.
Sure.
And while I got you, I'd love to know how you built this thing.
Yeah.
Because you were building on a proprietary software to do flash sales in the teens,
Yes.
right? I would imagine that this would have been a $400,000 project.
Absolutely.
Right, but
10
it
years
wasn't.
ago.
It wasn't
No.
a $400,000 project. So
Not at
part
all.
of this new way of working is that these tools that are out there are fantastic.
Fantastic.
So would you mind sharing
Yeah.
how you Legoed this thing together?
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming from a startup background, we were scrappy to begin with, and my wife has that same background. She's the executive director of TimeBoss. So we could move really quick at finding the right tools. We have essentially strung together Kajabi for community management, content management, Loom for all the video that we do. Zoom runs our sessions week over week. What else is in there? Figma, we do a lot of design work, but really, I mean, there was nothing custom. We connected with
Ecom. Where does that come in?
Kajabi.
Kajabi does the ecom.
Kajabi is a really
the gateway and
everything. Yeah.
Cool.
So we plug in through Stripe. So again, it's all just it's all digital tools that obviously we had a foundation of knowledge that the fundamental belief is all the tools are out there. I just need to orchestrate them. And we've plugged in a couple contractors here and there for video and whatnot. But other than that, it's been our ability to bootstrap it.
That's inspiring, Andrew.
Thanks.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. You got friends or foes out there? Like, do you have, well, that's a silly question because the market, the market share that someone like you needs, I would imagine, is less than 1% to have a very healthy
Absolutely.
life. I mean, who has I guess Stephen Covey maybe has the biggest market share of time management.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And he probably has a very small share of it.
That's right.
Right. So who do you butt up against or who do you play with?
Right.
Are there friends and foes? Maybe just a couple of examples of or systems that you use or don't use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So strong friends would be Atomic Habits. So a lot of people align with that. So I believe so deeply in that way of thinking, and it applies perfectly in our relationship with time.
So that book is not required, but healthy reading that aligns with your program.
It's a multiplier.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, just again, because I talk about time as a set of habits. It's I'm intensely focused on the next 7 days because that's where I believe we have the most agency.
Nice.
Our goals will rise and fall in the progress we make over the next 7 days, repeatedly, over and over and over again.
Give me one more resource.
Foe or friend?
Foe. No, friend. Then we'll do a foe. Then I want one foe.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually,
It's so fun to talk about the foes.
I do believe the getting things done as a mental model I think is really powerful because it's about emptying your brain, and I do fundamentally believe that being effective and really contributing to anything you want in life, whether it's professional or personal or anything, even right now, it's being fully present in the moment to just do that one thing. And I like what getting things done does around get it out of your head and into inboxes, get it to other places so it's not stuck up here so that you can be fully present. Now, certainly we could get into what I don't like about getting things done and where I feel like it doesn't always help people, but that alone I think is a great idea that people should embrace, is just get it out of your head, get it into a system.
Fair.
Yeah.
Give me one foe.
I told you on the front end, I think hustle culture is the foe. And you see
Hustle culture.
Hustle culture. You'll see it on Twitter. You'll see it on LinkedIn. It is the mental model that you just need to grind for. And they'll use terms like, if you want generational wealth, if you want your startup to exceed, the only way is to grind. And the mental model becomes every waking hour I have. And I actually think it's just fundamentally illogical. I think it's speaking to the bottom of people's brainstem because it's the one thing that they can control. It's that animal level, like I can just run hard, I can just grind, I can just do the thing. And it doesn't lean into thoughtfulness or strategy or even consideration of what are the other things in your life that you want besides whatever this thing is you're hustling after. For me, I want TimeBoss to be phenomenal. I want to help so many people with TimeBoss. I also want to be a great dad. I also want to be present to my wife, and I want to invest in our relationship. I also want to serve in my church and all these things. So I have got to embrace a philosophy of time that allows all those things to be successful, or I am not successful in my life. And I think hustle culture has just gotten into especially 20, 30-something's brain is the way. And I just think there's another way. I think they can have the life that they want, the full life that they want. And I think it just can be done a different way.
All right. Beautifully stated, Andrew. And to honor you and your profession, we're going to end this on time. I'm sure you got somewhere to go.
I do.
Hey, thanks for coming, sharing, really inspiring, and I enjoyed it.
Thanks so much, Jason.
All right.
Glad to be here.
We'll do another one on the San Juan Islands.
There we go.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
See ya.
All right.